listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
How terrible it will be for you who want the Lord's day of judging to come. Why do you want that day to come? It will bring darkness for you, not light. It will be like a man who runs from a lion and meets a bear. It will be like him going into his house and putting his hand on the wall, and then a snake bites him. So the Lord's day of judging will bring darkness, not light. It will be a time of sadness, not joy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us share part of your day. What you just heard was from Amos, chapter 5, verses 18 through 20. My name is Jerry Mitchell, your host for Give God 90. Myra's reading tonight.
Hello, everyone.
And, if you've listened to me for very long, you know that I don't spend a lot of time on end time stuff, right? I kind of avoid it, and there's a reason for that. There's a lot of people out there who are trying to figure this stuff out, and they're doing it for various reasons, and a lot of them are doing it for the wrong reason. But that's okay. By the way, if you hear a lot of traffic and motorcycle noise tonight, the windows are open. It's nice where we are, so there are motorcycles on the road today. It must be Bike Week in Ocean City or something. So anyway, I was reminded by a very good friend of ours last night that people who want to spend a lot of time worrying about the end times would probably be better suited to figure out the way they need to live now. That's kind of putting it mildly from where we were at last night, isn't it? Mostly because if you're not preparing properly, you're not going to understand what's going on. I've often thought about doing a show about prepping, but I don't think it would be what you'd think it would be, because the scary things that we see today might seem mild or tame by the time we actually get to the situation where you need to figure out what you're doing. In other words, we can prepare today for what we think's going to happen, but by the time it actually comes to a situation where you need all that information, you're going to have to adapt to something different, because the things you think you're going to have to prepare for will probably be long past before you realize what's going on. That's how quickly things are beginning to move. I like to use passages that help people live the way they're designed to live. Not necessarily always the upbeat, happy, joy kind of things, right? But passages that get you in that situation where you know you need to apply that to your life. That's not the situation tonight. Tonight's a little different. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, there's some things that you need to be ready for. And I don't, like I said, I don't care if you're living in the United States. I don't care if you're living in the Arctic, the Antarctic, the deepest, darkest parts of Africa, or, somewhere in South America on the Amazon. It just doesn't matter where you are. You need to understand what's going on. Because the New World Order, or maybe I should say the New World's Orders, however you want to say that tonight, because we're going to talk about it a couple of different ways. The New World Order is coming, and there's a reason it's coming. And it's amazing once you can sit back and go, oh, that's what that means. So hold on to your seats because you're about to go for a ride. When I was talking with a friend of ours last night, I was mentioning this to him. He says, I've read that somewhere, but I don't remember where. I don't remember reading anywhere what you're going to hear tonight. If it's out there, good. Pay attention to it. Do you realize that all over the world, people are praying for the Messiah? They're begging God, please send the Messiah. Things can't get much worse. Let him come with that rod of iron. It's not that bad yet. If he comes now, they owe Sodom, Gomorrah, and the other cities of the plains a big apology. Okay? That's how bad it was then. If he comes now, they owe that generation prior to Noah a huge apology. Because that's how bad it was then. Here's the interesting part of this. How do I want to really... I've got my notes here. I guess the best thing to do is just follow the notes because I want to go other places, and I know if I do, we'll never come back.
No.
The Messiah will come, okay? It's going to happen. It's promised. We know it's going to happen. The thing is, there's a lot of people that want to... they want to look at the victory without having to live through or experience the war. They don't want to do the battle. Okay? If you're one of these people that says, oh, I can see, I've read the end of the book and I know God wins. Yeah, he does. But you're spending way too much time looking at the victory without preparing for the war. And that is what you need to be prepared for. Now, I know a lot of Christians who've been indoctrinated into that mindset. Well, if I die, I'll just go to heaven and be with Jesus. Right? And then that happens. I have heard them say that. I've heard a lot of them say that. I know you probably have too. You might be one of the people that have said that. And some of these are the same Christians who think their great commission is to convert everyone they meet to Christianity. Well, here's a little newsflash for you. You can't convert anybody to Christianity if you're dead. Is that kind of blunt enough and blatant enough, in your face enough? You think they got it?
I sure hope so.
I hope so. Here's something else that you might want to really think about. The people that Myra was reading about from Amos, Amos was prophesying against them. And in the time that Amos lived, these are the people that they thought they were getting it right. They just knew that they were okay. These are the people just like today. You have this group over here and that group over there, and everybody thinks they're just fine. But they're not. They're far from it. Now, I'm seeing a lot about this thing we call the New World Order, and the biggest problem I see is that most people think it's some kind of a political scheme. The rich elite are going to take over the world. Well, kinda, but not really. Not really. They think, and the concept is that the rich elite are going to take over the world. They're going to enslave all of the people and let them do their bidding. If it were only that simple. If it was just that easy. You know how many rich elite people there are in the world? There's not that many. You know how many other people there are in the world? There's a lot. If it was only as simple as the rich elite trying to take over the world and enslave the masses, they wouldn't stand a chance because the masses would overpower them. It's that simple. It's not a political game. You need to figure out that in the next few years, and it could be the next several months, you're going to see a radical change in the entire world. And it really is kind of that it's the end of the world as you know it sort of a thing, right? There's nothing you can do about it either. Because for the most part, it's now out of our hands for one major reason. We'll get to that in a second. To really start to grasp the concept, you need some background. And the background you really need is found in Psalm 82. And it's not that long. So go ahead and read Psalm 82, and we'll get going from there.
God has taken his place in the divine council. In the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I said, you are gods, with a little g, sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, like men you shall die and fall like any prince. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all the nations.
Now, if you've ever wondered about this, David actually uses the image of a divine council. It's more like a furious father has gathered his children for the most severe punishment he can dish out. And in this situation, it's basically a death sentence. But we need to ask the question, who is in the divine council that deserves to die? You know, it says right in the beginning, God has taken his place. He stands among these other lesser gods, and he's reading them the riot act. How long are you going to do this? How long are you going to show partiality to the wicked? How long are you going to allow evil to exist in your part of the world? Yes, I did say that right. The question needs to be answered. Who is the divine council? Now, to understand this, you need to go back to Genesis 10. It's typically called the Table of Nations. And I'm not going to sit here and count them all out for you and name them all off. I don't have time to do that tonight. But you'll look in there and you're going to see the 70 nations. Now realize that in this chapter are the ways that the nations are divided after Genesis 11, after the Tower of Babel, or Babel, however you want to say that. The nations are divided according to language, each family going their own different way. Okay? That's simple. That's easy, right? Each of the children of Noah and their grandchildren who had been living on the plains of Shinar after the fall of the tower are dispersed, each according to their language. There's 70 of them. Now today we think, well, there's over 200 countries in the world. Well, you know, those countries are the result of centuries of war that divided the 70 nations. But as each of these 70 went out originally, our Creator assigned a divine being, a God with a little g, if I can use that term, and their responsibility was to watch over a physical location. That's why we read in Psalm 82, he's reading them the riot act. Because they've stopped taking care of humanity and they are allowing evil to take over. Is that all making sense so far? Okay. It makes sense in my head. I want to make sure I'm making sense for everybody else. Now, I know that there's an argument out there that says that Satan was given control over the world. all he has is some limited authority. Read Job chapter 1. He has to continually go back to the throne room and request permission to make life more miserable for Job. He doesn't have unlimited control of the world. He has limited authority. Remember, when Adam sinned, the Creator refused to hand over a perfect world to Satan. The curses were implemented to prevent Satan from being able to take something perfect and twist it into what he wanted it to be. Instead, the earth was cursed, mankind was cursed with physical death. The earth was cursed with the briars and the brambles, the stuff that tries to stick you, sting you, or, in other words, kill you, right? That was not the perfect world that was created. That was the cursed world that was, can I use the term handed, sort of, to Satan? Is that a safe way to say that? Okay. Now, the reason that mankind could not live forever at that point was if he lived forever, guess whose authority he would be under? That's right, he would be under Satan's authority if he lived forever. That can't happen. So we have to die in this physical world that we have currently in order to break that. I don't have time to go into all that tonight, but there's a division and a judgment there. Trust me. I'll get into that sometime. To help maintain the order of the world, the Creator gave these lesser divine beings geographic locations, and he said, look, you're responsible for this particular location. You're responsible for that location. But he kept one very influential location. Now, a lot of people want to think it's just that little strip of Israel. But there's more to it than that. He holds on to and maintains the entire geographic region that he promised to give to Abraham's children. From the river Euphrates to the great river in Egypt. All of that he has control over. Now, we get a glimpse in Daniel of what happens when these lesser gods that are taking control over a little geographic location, what happens when they are in conflict with the Creator. And we look at that in Daniel 10, verses 12 and 13.
Then the man said to me, Daniel, do not be afraid. Some time ago you decided to try to get understanding. You wanted to be humble before God. Since that time, God has listened to you, and I came to you because you have been praying. But the prince of Persia has been fighting against me for 21 days. Then Michael, one of the most important angels, came to help me. He came because I had been left there with the king of Persia.
Now, hopefully, it's pretty obvious that Gabriel, who was speaking to Daniel, would not be held back by a human being, right? Is that safe to say that you're not good? When he comes from the throne room, a mere mortal is not going to say you can't go any farther. Nope, you can't. You can't come across here. This was one of the divine beings, and he names him by the Prince of Persia. He has control over that geographic location, which is part of Iran now. Okay, it's hopefully you're sticking with us and getting it where things are going. Something else that should be obvious is this divine being had already stopped obeying the Creator. He had become his enemy. If he was still obeying the Creator, he wouldn't have stopped Gabriel from going to Daniel. Is that making sense? Okay, you're shaking your head. Yes, that's good, because I can't see everybody else out there in radio land shaking their heads. Now, what we have is a situation where the enemies of our Creator are actually starting to stand together against him and against the people who are faithful to him. See, the problem is, and I should say the problem was years ago, that there were more people who were, I think I'm going to say obstinately devoted to the Creator than those who opposed the Creator. In other words, there are more believers, even though they probably weren't getting it all right. They knew that God existed. They trusted him. They might not understand him. They might not figure it out. But there were more believers than there were people in rebellion against the Almighty. Most of those who were faithful to the Creator, well, it doesn't matter where they live. It doesn't matter if they'd never heard of him, because, you've got years and years and years of separation between Noah and their offspring. So they didn't really understand. They didn't comprehend. But even the ones who didn't understand, didn't comprehend, had little reminders all over the world. We see stories of the flood everywhere, all over the world. We see other things all over the world where they knew who he was. They just didn't quite know how it all fit together. Now, after almost 4,000 years since Noah, in what way or how has that spiritual realm of loyalty changed? Look around. What do you see? What do you see around the world? What do you see in your community? Are there still more people who are faithful and loyal to the Creator? Or has that kind of changed? Has the majority of people turned their loyalty somewhere else? Has the majority of people changed so much that they no longer are faithful to the one who made them? Is the majority of the people living the way they were designed to live, or is the majority of the people living the way they want to live? You have the divine beings responsible for their locations around the world. Who are they loyal to? Now, out of those 70, are there more who are loyal to the Creator, or are there more who are in rebellion and standing against him? Hopefully you can follow this, and you're shaking your head going, yeah, there's obviously more people today who are in rebellion against the Almighty. There's probably a lot of the divine beings who are in rebellion against the Almighty. But they're also in rebellion against humanity. They have become the enemy not only of the Creator, but of mankind, of humanity. Now, Satan knows he can't take on the Creator and win. He just has no hope of winning. In fact, he knows he's going to lose. But he has resigned himself to one cause, and that is to take as much humanity away from the Almighty as he can. He wants to take as many humans down with him as possible. And to that end is the battle for the world. Satan's been able to convince the other divine beings that are in control that they can have a chance if they all work together. Yeah, right. No, I'm not going down that path either. After all, why would these divine beings, as heavenly divine beings as they are, why would they want to just look after us lowly humans? Right? Why would these beings who are in the realm of spiritual, whatever dimension you want to call it, why would they want to have anything to do with us? We think that there are people in the world, and you can pick a group that you want to call your nemesis, right? It doesn't matter whether it's the Bilderbergs, doesn't matter whether it's the Masonic Lodge, doesn't matter whether it's the Catholic Church. They're all just trying to rule the world. They're going to take us all over. They want to make slaves out of us. And yeah, I did include the church there. The thing is, these groups have been put in the position they're in by the divine beings so that they can help guide the political tide in the direction of the New World Order. Now, the New World Order is not about politics. It's just politics is the vehicle that is going to deliver that. It's going towards it. Okay. Now I included the Catholic Church, and I'll include the Protestants. I don't have a problem doing that. A lot of them. You know why? Because they're part of the problem. They're part of the problem. Even though they claim that they're faithful to the Creator of the universe, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their very doctrines, well, there are a few places that they don't have these doctrines, but most of the doctrines of these churches are defiant. They stand against the sacred word of Jehovah. Read them. I've read a lot of them. They stand. They are defiant of the Almighty. They worship the way that the pagans do. They eat whatever they want to eat. They openly outright sin by supporting things like abortion and homosexuality. Everything our Creator instructs us not to do is the lifestyle that they choose. Their actions display who they're loyal to. Now, that doesn't mean to say, and I need to make sure you understand this, that doesn't mean to say that they're loyal to Satan. Okay? Because they honestly believe that they're getting it right, just like the people in the time of Amos. They actually think they're doing everything right. See, Satan doesn't need you to be loyal to him in order to ruin your life. He doesn't need you to be loyal to him in order to take that eternal life from you. He doesn't need you to be loyal to him. Satan doesn't need you to be loyal to him in order for you to die that second death on the day of judgment. All he has to do is convince you that you can do whatever you want to do and still go to heaven when you die. He simply has to convince you can eat what you want to eat, work when you want to work, worship however you want to work, take a holiday whenever you want to take a holiday. He just needs you to be your own God. Did I just describe some of you? Eat what you want to eat, work when you want to work, worship however you want to worship, take a holiday whenever you want to take a holiday. Makes you your own God. He has convinced, well, up to this point, several generations of Christians and actually other religions as well, that you can sin and still go to heaven. He's convinced these generations that they don't need to be an example to the world. They don't need to be a nation of priests. They can be concerned only for themselves. They can try to convert other people to Christianity because they can do that all they want, right? Because their doctrines, many of them conflict with what's in the Bible. Satan says, that's okay. Go convert them. It's all right. You know that they have aided and abetted the enemy. They don't even know they're doing it. They don't know they're doing it. They honestly think that they're serving the Creator of the universe. They honestly believe that they are serving the Creator of the universe, even though their doctrines and the way they're living is defiant to His word. They've allowed themselves to be put in a position where they will be enslaved by their divine taskmasters, and they don't even know it. Now, some of them are crying out for the Messiah to come and rule. And that will bring their own destruction. Just like what Amos prophesied a long time ago. There's nothing new under the sun except for what's coming. A new world order. We can't stop it, but that's not where the lesson has to end. Because there's going to be a new world order. New heaven and a new earth. And at that time, there won't be a sun for it to be under. You see where I went with that, I hope? You know, Isaiah 66:22 says, I'm going to make a new heaven and a new earth, and they're going to last forever. But before he gets to that point, Isaiah points out something, and in the words of Isaiah, it's a thus saith the Lord moment, okay? So if you want to read, starting there.
This is what the Lord says. I will give her peace that will flow to her like a river. The wealth of the nations will come flowing to her. Like babies, you will be nursed and held in my arms. You will be bounced on my knee. I will comfort you as a mother comforts her child. You will be comforted in Jerusalem. When you see these things, you will be happy. You will grow like the grass. The Lord's servants will see his power, but the Lord's enemies will see his anger. Look, the Lord is coming with fire. The Lord's armies are coming with clouds of dust. He will punish those people with his anger. He will punish them with flames of fire. The Lord will judge the people with fire. He will destroy many people with his sword. He will kill many people.
Now, notice it doesn't say that the enemy will kill many people, right? You know, when I read these passages, we have to wonder, you know, is there going to be enough faithful people who have not blotted their name out of the book of life to make it worthwhile? The enemy knows he's going to lose, but he still chooses to fight because he's nothing more than pure evil. Will there be enough to make it worthwhile? Well, Abraham negotiated for just one. Remember Isaiah 66. I will make a new heaven and a new earth. They will last forever. Thus saith Jehovah. In the same way, your names and your children will always be with me. The New World Order that we're going to experience before the new heaven and the new earth is not going to be a good place. It's going to get bad. It's going to get worse. I can't sugarcoat this anymore. It's just flat out going to be miserable, okay? Y'all thought I was kidding when I was, to say it's bad, that's sugarcoating it, okay? I'm just saying. You think it's bad now, you ain't seen nothing yet. But the new world, the new Jerusalem, that's what we have to look forward to. That's what makes all the chaos that we're preparing for today. That's what makes all the toughness, all the battles, all the stuff before the victory. That's what makes it worthwhile. We have to get through the junk. We have to get through the battles. We have to get in the trenches. We have to, there's however you want, whatever analogy you want to use there, fill in the blanks. Because we have to prepare today and survive tomorrow and survive the day after that before we have an opportunity to live forever. The New World Order is coming soon to a country near you. You're not going to escape it. I don't believe as much as I want to believe, I don't think there's enough faithful people left in the world to change it. I think we are at that point where all of the prophets said we would reach, where it seems like the whole world is standing against the Almighty. But there are those few who are still the example. Yeshua said it wasn't going to last very long, and that's probably a good thing. Once it's in full effect, it won't last long. And the good thing is, are you ready? The new heaven and the new earth will follow very quickly. When we think about these things and we look at the way it all comes out, it's very easy to get caught up in the victory. But you have to be prepared for the battle. If there's going to be a victory, there's going to be a battle, right? You can't have a victory without a conflict. You know, you can't have a winner without some type of challenge being laid out. Doesn't matter whether it's a baseball game or a war. What's coming is not a baseball game. I have a feeling what's coming is going to make war look fun. But here's the good news. If you are willing to live the way you're designed to live, if you're ready to do the things you're supposed to do, you will survive it, and you will flourish in it. It's okay. Because even at the victory, there's going to be a day when the Almighty Himself sorts things out. And on that day, for everybody who stands against Him, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to make everything you've just gone through look like a cakewalk. But for everything you've just lived through, if you remain faithful, if you keep doing the things you're supposed to do, if you are really, really serious about being obedient, about listening to His voice and doing the things He asked, the reward is unimaginable. There's no way to describe how bad things are going to be that we're about to go through. There's no word to describe how wonderful and great and terrific. There's just not enough positive adjectives in the English language to explain how good it's going to be on the other side if you are willing to stay faithful. It's your choice. It's your choice. You have to choose where you're going to stand. So are you going to stand with the Almighty, or are you going to stand against Him? Because there's no fence sitting on this one. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. We will be back Monday. Some of you have already celebrated Yom Kippur. Some are celebrating now. Some will be celebrating tomorrow, beginning tomorrow. It's a messed up calendar this year. Just work it out with fear and trembling, okay? Mm-hmm. Trust me, it's a messed up calendar this year. Here's the thing. Don't forget. Reflection, repentance, and may your name be found in the book of life. Until Monday, many, many blessings, everyone.